Greg Venter, one of the first scientists to sequence the human genome, has started Human Longevity, a local company whose goal is to pinpoint the genes that lead to a long, healthy life. How? By sequencing the DNA from tens of thousands of people, ranging from babies to supercentenarians, for free. Local research facilities are joining in the effort, including Moores Cancer Center. Director Dr. Scott Lippman from UCSD Moore Cancer Center and also from Moores Cancer Center, genetic counselor Lisa Madlinsky. Welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, how many people's genomes are needed for this mass sequencing, and who qualifies to participate?
So we'll offer this to all patients, all cancer patients that come to the Moores Cancer Center. So there'll be thousands of patients a year. Offer them the full genome sequencing on these patients. And we know that since cancer is a genomic disease, in fact, every single patient's cancer is different at the genomic level. And so we can learn a lot from individual patients as well as by looking at data from thousands of patients for patterns.
Right, and it's not mandatory. This is a voluntary process,
it's voluntary,
correct?
Correct.
What's the purpose of sequencing so many genomes?
Well, the whole field of personalized and precision medicine is just taking off. Particularly over the past 5 years, we're identifying specific genetic alterations that we can develop therapies that are helping patients, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. This project will help us. The comprehensive and depth of the sequencing is unprecedented. So we will discover new targets, new genetic alterations that we can develop therapies quickly to help patients.
Well, one of the companies involved in this venture is Illumina, and they say they can sequence a whole genome for about $1,000, and they can do it quickly now, which is a big shift from what it used to be. How much will participants have to pay at Moores in order to participate in the sequencing?
There's no cost for the patients to participate. And working with the Venner Institute and Human Longevity and Illumina, we'll have very, very comprehensive sequencing with a lot of data. And we also, a big part of that is the interpretation of these very complex data sets. And so we have experts both at the Cancer Center and at the Venner Institute and so on that are called bioinformatics specialists, well beyond statistics, that can interpret these very complicated data sets to find out what is actually driving the tumor, what do you have to block to treat the tumor.
So a lot more in depth than just saying, yes, you have the gene for, let's say, breast cancer or not breast cancer.
Well, that's part of it. We will find some of those clear black and white findings, but most of what we find will be interpreting complex data sets to develop inhibitors to treat patients.
And Lisa, you counsel patients who undergo genetic testing. What are some of the reasons that people either say they regret or avoid genetic testing?
So there are a couple of myths out there about genetic testing. A lot of people choose to proceed because they want to know if this will impact their risk of getting cancers again after they've been through treatment for the first cancer. Often, though, they also really want to know about risks for their family members. So that is what drives a lot of people to pursue genetic testing. People usually don't have regrets, and I think part of that is because we really make an effort to go through an informed consent process prior to testing, so people really can decide at that point if they want to know that information or if they prefer not to know. But most people choose to proceed once they've engaged in the process.
One concern is how genetic material is protected, for instance, going to insurance companies or your place of work. So what's in place in California that protects genetic information?
So 5 years ago, there was actually a federal law passed called the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. And that law prohibits insurance companies and employers from using genetic information to discriminate. That's not only genetic sequencing information, that's actually family history data as well. So there are some very good protections in place.
Well, Scott, the company doing this, Human Longevity, as we mentioned, says it will ultimately gather this information and then ultimately sell it to pharmaceutical companies or other research facilities for a profit. So who actually owns their DNA sequence? Let's say a patient from you gets it sequenced and it ultimately goes to a pharmaceutical company. Does the patient who gave the DNA sample own it? Does Moores Cancer Center own it? Or does the facility that's sequencing the genome own it?
Well, there are many issues that need to be worked out. I mean, we are going to be working night and day to work out a number of the issues with informed consent, with patients, with advocates, to work out all these issues, because there is no recipe to do this. I will say, and I can't comment on the aspect of human longevity, but from the point of view of the Cancer Center, all of our researchers at UCSD who want to work in this area will have access to the data to discover new mutations, new genetic alterations that we can then design and develop therapies for. And as I mentioned, that's happening very quickly now, within a year or two, from discovery to helping patients, where in the past it was 15 years or so. So I think we've just hit the tip of the iceberg of personalized medicine, precision medicine. This will greatly expand the options.
We have a lot more information on our website, kpbs.org. Dr. Scott Lippman and Elisa Madlinsky, thank you so much.
Thank you.